Hollywood, 1954, a film set, blazing lights, cameras everywhere. A powerful director sits in his chair like a king on a throne. He has made careers, he has destroyed them, he knows it, and he loves it. He looks across the set at Marlon Brando, and he says four words that will haunt him for the rest of his life. I make the stars. Marlon Brando doesn't flinch. He doesn't raise his voice. He just looks at the director with those dark, unreadable eyes, and he smiles. Not a warm smile, not an angry smile. Something else entirely. The kind of smile that says, you have no idea what you just started. What happens next doesn't just end this director's power over Marlon Brando. It ends his power, period. And Hollywood never forgets it. But to understand what Marlon Brando does next, you have to go back, way back. Omaha, Nebraska, 1,930 seconds. A boy grows up in a house full of noise and silence. His father is cold, distant, a man who measures love in discipline. His mother is warm but disappearing, drowning slowly in alcohol. Young Marlon watches both of them. He absorbs everything, the pain, the contradiction, the loneliness. He learns early that the world is a performance. Everyone is playing a role. His father plays the role of authority. His mother plays the role of happiness she doesn't feel. And the boy from Omaha decides, very early, that he will never play a role someone else writes for him. He gets expelled from military school. Not because he is stupid, because he refuses to obey orders that make no sense to him. That is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. That is something deeper. That is a man who already knows, at 17 years old, that blind obedience is the death of the soul. He arrives in New York with almost nothing. He digs ditches. He runs elevators. He sleeps on other people's couches. He eats when he can. But then he finds Stella Adler. And everything changes. Stella Adler teaches him that acting is not pretending. Acting is living. You don't fake the emotion. You find it. You reach into your own broken history, your own wounds, and you bring them onto the stage, bleeding and raw. Marlon Brando becomes the most dangerous student she has ever seen because he has so much pain to work with. Broadway. A streetcar named Desire. Stanley Kowalski walks onto the stage, and nothing in American theater is ever the same again. Marlon Brando doesn't recite lines. He breathes them. He mumbles. He moves like a caged animal. He wears a torn white t-shirt soaked in sweat, and he makes every other actor on that stage look like they are reading from a script, because they are, and he isn't. The audience doesn't watch him. They stare at him. They lean forward. They hold their breath. Some of them are uncomfortable. Some of them don't even know why. Critics lose their minds. Tennessee Williams says Marlon Brando is Stanley Kowalski, not plays him, is him. Then comes Hollywood, the men, a streetcar named Desire on film, Viva Zapata, Julius Caesar, and in 1954, the movie that should have made him untouchable forever, On the Waterfront. I could have been a contender. 8 words, delivered in a taxicab, with a bruised face and broken eyes. 8 words that make grown men cry in movie theaters across America. Marlon Brando wins the Oscar. He is 29 years old. He is the most celebrated actor on the planet. And the directors of Hollywood look at this young man and think the same thing. We own him now. Here is where it gets dark. The director's name doesn't matter. What matters is what he represents. He is the kind of Hollywood director who believes that talent is a raw material, something to be shaped, controlled, packaged, and sold. He has turned unknown faces into movie stars. He has taken beautiful nobodies and built them into icons. In his mind, that means he owns them. He has worked with Marlon Brando once before. It was difficult. Marlon Brando arrives late to the set. He doesn't memorize his lines the traditional way. He improvises. He questions. He pushes back on every scene that feels false to him. For a director like this, that is not artistic freedom. That is disrespect. So on this particular day, on this particular film set, he decides to make a point. In front of the entire crew, he calls Marlon Brando over. He looks him in the eye, and he says, "Let me remind you something. I make the stars. You are here because of men like me. Never forget that." The crew goes silent. Everyone is looking at Marlon Brando, waiting. Marlon Brando looks at him for a long moment. Then he says 2 words. "We're done." He takes off his costume. He walks off the set. He gets in his car. He leaves. The director is furious. He goes to the studio. He demands action. He tells them Marlon Brando is unprofessional, impossible, a liability. The studio executives are nervous. Marlon Brando is a star, but this director has power too. What happens next is not a war, it is something quieter and far more devastating. Marlon Brando simply refuses to work with him. Ever again. Not publicly, no interviews, no angry statements to the press, nothing dramatic, just silence. And in Hollywood, silence from Marlon Brando is louder than screaming from anyone else. The director tries to move on, but the story spreads, the way stories always spread in Hollywood. Quietly, from ear to ear, at dinner tables and in studio corridors. Brando walked off his set. Brando refused to come back. And here is the thing about Hollywood power. It is built on the illusion of control. The moment the talent refuses to be controlled, the illusion shatters. Other actors start asking questions. If Marlon Brando won't work with him, why should they? The director's next projects struggle, not because of Marlon Brando directly, but because the best people don't want to work in a war zone. And now everyone knows his set is a war zone. Within 5 years, he is no longer making the films he wants to make. He is making the films that studios trust him to complete without incident. Smaller films, quieter films. The kingdom shrinks. But here's the thing. Marlon Brando pays a price too. His refusal to be controlled makes him powerful. It also makes him inconvenient. And the studios start whispering the word that ends careers in Hollywood. Difficult. The 1,960 seconds are brutal. Film after film underperforms. The critics are cruel. The box office is devastating. By 1,970, the trades are writing him off. Not carefully, not with nuance. They call him box office poison. They say his best work is behind him. They say the method actor who revolutionized cinema has become an expensive, unreliable relic. The director who told him I make the stars is still in Hollywood, still working, still telling people he was right about Marlon Brando all along. And then, a dark room, a cheap home video camera, black shoe polish and gray hair, cotton stuffed into his cheeks, a low, raspy whisper. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. The screen test for The Godfather, the one Paramount doesn't even want to see, gets smuggled into a boardroom by Francis Ford Coppola. The executives watch it. They don't recognize the old man on the screen at first. Then they realize, that is Marlon Brando. The room goes silent. The Godfather opens in March 1972. It becomes the highest-grossing film in history at that moment. Marlon Brando's face is on every magazine. Don Vito Corleone is not a character anymore. He is a monument. And then comes March 27, 1973. The Academy Awards, Best Actor. The envelope opens. Marlon Brando. The audience applauds. They look toward his seat. It is empty. Instead, a young Native American woman named Sacheen Littlefeather walks to the microphone. She is dressed in traditional Apache clothing. She speaks quietly and clearly. Marlon Brando cannot accept this award, she says. Not while the American film industry continues to dehumanize Native American people. The crowd erupts. Some boo, some cheer, some sit in stunned silence. Somewhere in Hollywood, the director who said I make the stars is watching this on television and understands, perhaps for the first time, that he never made anything. Marlon Brando made himself. After that night, Marlon Brando stops pretending to belong to Hollywood. He demands $6 million for 13 minutes of screen time in Superman. He gets it. He demands millions more for Apocalypse Now. He gets that too. He arrives on set overweight, underprepared by every conventional standard, and delivers something extraordinary anyway, because talent like his doesn't need permission from anyone else. The only person who can give Marlon Brando permission is Marlon Brando. He retreats to Tetiaroa, his private island in Tahiti. He disappears for months at a time. Hollywood gossips. Hollywood worries. Hollywood misses him, even when it pretends not to. He becomes a myth while still alive. Marlon Brando dies on July 1, 2004. He is 80 years old. The tributes pour in immediately, but the ones that matter most don't come from executives or studio bosses. They come from the actors he created. Robert De Niro says Marlon Brando changed everything about what it means to perform on camera. Al Pacino says without Marlon Brando, there is no blueprint. Leonardo DiCaprio calls him the foundation of modern screen acting. One man, born in Omaha, no connections, no industry family, no one to open doors. 2 Academy Awards, films that earned over $1 billion combined. A permanent shift in how human beings tell stories on camera. But more than any award, any box office number, any critical tribute, he proved that no one makes the stars. The stars make themselves. Think about a photograph taken on the set of The Godfather, 1971. Marlon Brando sits in a darkened room. He is wearing a tuxedo. His hands are folded gently in front of him, holding a small cat on his lap. The cat looks calm. Marlon Brando looks calm. But his eyes are something else entirely. Dark, patient, seeing everything, judging nothing. He looks like a man who has already won every argument he will ever have, and he has. Do not follow the rules. Destroy them. If this story moved you, like this video. Subscribe for more stories of rebels, geniuses, and the men who refuse to be made. Hit the notification bell so you never miss what comes next. And drop a comment below. What would you have said to that director?